nerves. Better shake your booties for black girl nerves.
Thank you, ladies, for your time on this wonderful, wonderful film with such important messaging. And it got me to thinking about one size fits all parenting and how it just does not exist. Even when your children may have similar issues that they are looking to resolve. Julianne, beginning with you, I'm going to ask you instead about Amy's character, Cynthia. What do you think about Cynthia's approach to their common issue? And then I'll ask you the reverse, Amy, about Julianne's character.
Yeah. Wow, I was just saying this to Amy a little while ago. I was so moved by what she did in that performance because it's so complicated. She's carrying such tremendous grief, I mean, such unspeakable loss, and her desire to go forward for her daughter, for her family, and to believe, to try to find some sustenance in this relationship with this other child, is very, very touching to me, because it's like she's trying to keep what I see in her character is someone who's trying to keep it afloat, who's just trying to go forward and who refuses to kind of go down, and it's her fragility, the complication is just, it's very human, and it's devastating, absolutely devastating to me to watch. Beautiful performance.
Thank you, Amy. And for you, for Julianne's character, Heidi.
I have so much admiration for Julianne's character. Being a single mother, being the provider, taking on both roles of parenting, that's so brave. Really working so hard to stay a part of her son's life through all of the challenges, doing her best. And there's something that is so universal about that, about all of us just doing our best, and trying our hardest. And really, one of the things I really love about her is her unconditional love for her son. And it's so hard for us as parents to really relay that to our children, that we will be there no matter what, that she's not going anywhere. There's nothing he can do, nothing he will say. I think that's absolutely beautiful. I think as a mom, I have that towards my daughter, and it's beautiful to get to see her deliver her song and send that message out there.
Julianne, musicals and just music in general conveys messaging to people in a way that other mediums just cannot. It has a different type of relatability. When you first started hearing the songs from this project, were there ones that you resonated to more than others?
Well, I think it was So Big, So Small. I mean, that and then Requiem too. I mean, it's that thing about what I love about musicals is that the feeling, the idea is that the feeling is so big that you can no longer just speak it, you have to sing it, So there is something that's so direct about it and so emotional. Requiem in particular is so beautiful, I think, because it has a like a dirge-like quality. It really is about mourning and their and this idea that they're trying to keep it at bay, but it's just overtaking them. And So Big, So Small, like I said, for her to be able to tell her son what he means to her in a song, and to say that she'll never leave. That's a big thing as a parent, and that's something that you hope that you're always communicating. And in this song, she says it, she lays it out, which is so it's kind of unbearably moving.
Yeah,
it really is. I enjoyed you both tremendously. Thank you so much for your time. It's a marvelous film. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben, for your time. A pleasure. Enjoyed your performance tremendously. This touched me greatly.
Thank you.
Adapting a very, very popular award-winning musical for TV is a whole different beast. When you look in how you first began to form who Evan was going to be for the small screen, how did you begin that process so you're not overperforming and making sure that the message is getting directly to us?
I think it was a kind of a balancing act of, figuring out which instincts and which, things that I remember from the stage piece and what, second nature things about the character that I have spent so much time playing I can utilize and that I should rely on and use as a foundation. And then also, what are the ways in which I can make it feel spontaneous and new and honest and very close to the ground and very authentic. And so I think that the main challenge of the translation was keeping the essence the same and keeping all of the internal life and internal emotions that Evan experiences as true as they were in the stage piece, but understanding that I don't necessarily need to do as much external work to broadcast those things or to overly indicate them, that I can just feel them inside and know that will come across in a very intimate way on camera.
Mm-hmm. What always impressed me about this story is just the nuance of what that social anxiety looks like and how people concoct stories to help them cope. We hear about the medicines and all of the other things that aid people in living a more whole life, but just that part, would you say that is a part of preservation when Evan is kind of formulating this life that we see him go on a journey on? What is that? Is that preservation? What do you think that emotion is?
I think he so desperately needs connection and needs to feel valued or seen or heard, or that there's people there that want him around or want to hear what he has to say. So when he kind of stumbles into this strange universe intervention moment of this family who are equally in need of some sort of connection, some sort of healing in their grieving, it's like a gift for him. I think as difficult and as morally ambiguous as it is to obviously, to continue to tell this lie, it fills him up too much, and it's, I think, too necessary for him to ignore. And I think it brings him out of his shell, and it starts to, make him feel more comfortable in his skin, and it makes him feel that he's seen by other people, he's more confident, he can communicate. And of course, the tension and the more difficult part of the story is that it's predicated on this lie, and that's what makes it, as you said, so nuanced and complicated. But for him, I do think it's almost an act of survival. I think, as we learn by the end of the film, Evan struggles with wanting to be alive at times and with self-harm. And, I think it's the kind of thing that comes in just at the time when it's needed. And as fraught and as complicated as it is, it's what he really is crying out for.
And lastly, now after doing both versions of this story, when you watch yourself back now after completing this, how do you feel seeing this done in a different way?
I feel obviously strange always watching myself, and I get lost in my head, remembering certain memories or certain days or takes, or I lost in the experience of it. But mostly I just feel really grateful. My dream has always been to be in a musical and to be part of the musical theater community. And it's incredibly rare that someone in the musical theater community gets to then immortalize that role for the screen. We get Joel Grey and Cabaret and a few other examples, but a lot of times you don't get that opportunity. So I think when I watch it now, I just feel so much gratitude that I got to be the one to finish the journey and to really put Evan into his kind of like final resting place of immortalization. And I just can't wait to show my children, God willing, someday.
Yeah, and some pride too. Take some pride. You did a beautiful job.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Well, I thank you for speaking with me. Beautiful, beautiful film. And thanks again.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Take care. It is a terrific honor and pleasure to speak with you today. Thank you for your time.
Oh, you too. Thank you.
This is a wonderful project. It was a wonderful show, and now it's a wonderful film that's tackling some really serious issues, particularly for Black children, Black teenagers, that isn't really examined in major projects. Tell me about your involvement with the project and communicating these serious themes using Alana as a vehicle, because there are a lot of serious things being communicated.
Yeah, sure. The way that Alana came to me was already an offer for me to collaborate with the songwriters and the writer and the director around expounding upon her from the stage version, because there's space, and time and film to do that. And so we kind of really honed in on together who we wanted Alana to be and what we wanted her to be contending with. And our screenwriter, Steven Levenson, had already folded in all this beautiful stuff around Alana and her depression and her anxiety and her being on medication, which is something that, like you said, is really not a normalized conversation, especially for Black children. And that made me so excited, just because I deal with depression and anxiety. I'm on medication. I'm on the exact same medication as Alana, actually, and the same dosage, which is really funny. And so I really connected with that. And, you know, like you also kind of spoke to, we don't necessarily have conversations within the Black community around medication. And then, of course, around mental health, like in a larger sense. You know, it's a stigmatized one. It's a difficult one to have. It's one that culturally we haven't had as much space for because we haven't been afforded the space to have those conversations. And so, yeah, I hope that especially Black girls who are watching the movie can relate to, you know, a Black girl who has depression and anxiety, which so many people do. I hope we can normalize having those conversations. And had I, you know, felt like it was okay to be on medication when I was a teenager, I probably would have started medication a lot earlier in my life. But I did feel a lot of shame and I was very nervous about like what that would result in, or what that would mean in terms of who I was, or or my capabilities. But medication is like normal. Dealing with mental illness or neurodivergence is normal. And I hope that people watching the film can feel that and feel less alone in their experiences. Yeah.
I thank you for your time. Very, very important message, and you performed it wonderfully. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Take care.
You too.
Thank you, Stephen, for your time. This is a marvelous film, marvelous messaging, and well performed. And at the helm of director, I really enjoyed how you got all of your performers to get it over the goal line. It was really, really terrific.
Thank you.
Beginning with this, when you take something, an immensely popular stage show, and bring it into a different format, what is the jumping off point from the director's point of view?
For me, whenever I do an adaptation, whether it was Wonder from a book or Dear Evan Hansen from a stage show, is my jumping off point is the love of the thing. I'm a huge fan of this stage show. And so it was, although it had some challenges to try to figure out how do you turn a 1,000-seat theater into a dining room, you know, there were certain aesthetic things that we had to do, but I loved it so much that I don't know, I let my love of the show be my guide every day.
With Ben's portrayal of Evan, there's just so much nuance and intimacy. When you're guiding someone to convey those emotions to us, what type of conversations do you have with him to make sure the same message is getting across that was so beautifully done in the stage show?
Well, I think my relationship with Ben was more, I don't know, it's almost like more like an advocate. Yes, I was the director. I'm not going to downplay my contribution to it, but it was his character. He developed it from day one, basically, with the three authors. And so what I would do is just I try to create an atmosphere where it's like if he needed the kind of like a protective, like a safe place to kind of go there, I would create that. If he needed, I just try to kind of like almost read the tea leaves in terms of what I thought he needed and basically build the shoot around that need. Then once he, you know, because he had like 600-700 performances in his body and his brain, just let him do his takes. Just let it happen. Then if I saw something, I'd walk in, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? But no pressure. I never saw him do it on stage. I wasn't trying to recreate some magical night where I saw him do it. But his performance was the stuff of legend. And so I was just kind of front row center and just trying to just encourage him that it's okay to trust less. It's okay to know that, look, you're in a dining room with 3 people. You're not in a 1,000-seat theater, you know, and trust that your eyes are doing enough. Trust that your gesture is doing it enough. And really just trust me, look, as a director, I'm not doing the performance. He is doing the performance. They're doing the performances. I just want to be their coach and their friend and their older brother at times, and just really their fierce protector, because what they do is very magical to me, and I love actors.
Yes. And lastly, when we think musical, we think loud, we think noise, but so much of this messaging is quiet and intimate that you're leaning into. What would you say is the best experience to watch this at home? Big crowd of people at your house, watching it one-on-one. What would you say is a great way to consume this in the TV form?
I always feel like with this one, having consumed it in all different ways, kind of all of the above. I think the movie theater, because we spent a month on the sound mix. I can't even tell you how good it sounds like in the big room, because it feels like a concert experience. It's remarkable, and I made it to be that big. And if it's on your phone, it's that small. It's kind of like I wanted it to be the best of, almost like an intimate epic, call it that. That's what I wanted it to feel like. So really, it's like big group of people, a theater or at home, like whatever it is. Like, we're going to be in theaters for a while before there's any home version. So I would encourage people to go theater first if they can make it. But really, we designed it to work anywhere.
Absolutely. Well, it is beautiful, and I thank you for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Take care.
Better shake your booties for black girl nerves. Better shake your booties for black girl nerves.